Awesome. We're recording.
Okay.
Okay, so I was doing so good and I would have like monthly ones and then we like transitioned to Aaron. And then I just decided, a lot of responsibility is off of me now. So I'm just going to do them randomly. So I'm going to call this one the March Prevention
Okay.
and Health Promotion Conversations. And you know what? I was trying to think about this, and you might have this. I don't want to put you in my category. I have both pandemic brain and mom brain. So it all just comes together now. And I was really trying to think, Kim, like, was the first time I formally met you at Brad's, or did we meet prior at PTAG or something?
No, it was at Brad's because
Okay.
I had just started there.
Okay.
So the timing really worked out with that first conversation. So, and then of course at, PTAG meetings after that.
Yeah. So, okay. So why don't you tell membership then
Yeah.
what you did? Like, just give her a little run through of, because I want you to stop when you got to Brad's as to why because then we'll go into what you're doing. But what were you doing prior to Brad's? How did you end up at Brad's? Because I feel like that's a unique situation. And while you capitalized on that experience, Brad, if I may say, was innovative in thinking about creating that for his clinic. So if you could like share that, that'd be great.
Sure. So, my career has kind of taken many paths, as most of us have in this field. So I kind of started out just outpatient, general ortho, very heavy manual therapy bent. And then this was all in New York, moved to Philly, really got into the performing arts scene. I'm a former dancer myself, Bachelor of Arts in Dance. And I was affiliated with some of the performing arts schools there and doing injury prevention work with them. So that's where I really started, getting into prevention, but it was really all musculoskeletal still, just all injury prevention for these performers who have to go through these extreme ranges of motion and everything, these high demands on their body. So then we moved here. I did a very short stint in clinical practice here. It was not a good fit. And then I ended up for 3 years at Georgia State University. So Andy Butler, he was the interim chair of the PT department there, and he was also the associate dean of research for the School of Health Professions. And I took a position as his clinical research coordinator. So while I was there, I was also teaching in the DPT program and the musculoskeletal courses. So 3 years kind of came up and our grant ran out and we weren't so sure if we were going to get it renewed. And Jake Irwin, who was also teaching at Georgia State at the time and still is. I was kind of talking to him about it. And while I was at Georgia State, I wasn't in clinical practice. So I kind of felt like I wanted to, instead of following the academic route at that point in time, based on opportunities and, all of that, I kind of wanted to get back into clinical practice. So Jake, who's friends with Brad and has known him forever, just like you, he said, well, you got to call Brad. He's got this great clinic in Roswell and we live in Roswell. And so I did. I just kind of reached out to him, sent him my resume, and he happened to be hiring at the time. And he was hiring 2 therapists, one for full-time clinical practice, and then another one who would be interested in really getting the wellness, kind of program off the ground for his clinic, because that was something he really felt strongly about throughout his whole career. And he didn't really have the time or resources as a clinic owner to be able to do that himself, really kind of cultivate that and donate the time to it. But he was fortunate enough to receive a private grant to be able to fund my position for a few years to be able to really get that off the ground and get that going. So that's when shortly after I started working for Brad is when you and I met and we had that first conversation.
Yeah, and I think like that, so for the practice owners that are listening, like Brad accepted a private grant. It was almost like a seed grant. Really, somebody that believed in him because he wanted to build out that portion of his clinic, and then you got that. position and was charged with what? Like
really trying to develop as kind of in a few different arenas. At first, it was a lot of community outreach, just kind of networking, community health promotion, educational programs we did at the libraries, community centers, at the clinic itself, which was wonderful. And, kind of when you're doing that, you do generate interest in the business from the community standpoint, and then you're the person they think of when they need PT, and then that kind of feeds the rehab side. But we were also looking to try to get into more of a population health realm. I don't think we totally knew that's what we were calling, like that's what it was. We weren't calling it that early on.
Right.
We just knew we wanted to be able to reach large groups of people and be more on the prevention side for this portion of the practice of the clinic versus the rehab side. When we met with you, Perry, we were talking about different opportunities kind of in the corporate world to be able to do that. And we were kind of, I don't want to say floundering, but we were trying to reinvent a wheel that was already rolling in New Jersey. And so we were able to hook up with you and with Mike Eisenhart at one of our PT Association of Georgia meetings. Mike came down and was a speaker, and kind of as soon, Brad and I were at that meeting, and as soon as we heard him talk, it was like, oh,
the light bulb.
This is what, this is it. This is what we're really trying to do. So, we met Mike and kind of communicated with him and communicated with you, and then you strongly recommended when the certification opportunity came up to get involved with that. So I did, and it was wonderful.
Tell me about, it's always good to sell our stuff, but I feel like yours is authentic and legitimate. Like when I said to you, based on what you guys are telling me, it would be beneficial to take the CERT course, and you are already recognizing that what y'all want to do already exists in the world. What was it like taking that course and bringing it all together? People ask me that a lot, so I'm going to ask you that.
It really gave me a good way to frame everything, because like I said, we knew we wanted to do prevention. We were still focusing a little bit more on the injury prevention side, and trying to utilize that for large groups of people doing screenings and things like that. I think it brought the whole picture of health into it, and even bringing to our attention as physical therapists that this stuff is possible as PTs. It doesn't have to be musculoskeletal injury that we're trying to prevent here, because the whole person and all of their health factors affect their musculoskeletal system and injury. And even kind of giving us permission to talk about it.
Yes.
I feel like a lot of therapists don't know that we have permission to talk about this with our patients, even just in rehab. Yes. Never mind trying to turn around, like Mike always does that, turn around and health facing and stop these people from getting anywhere near the cliff while we're still trying to help the people who are falling off the cliff.
Right.
So, and just being able to find the vocabulary, like how to put this into words and how to talk with people about this, both on an individual level and even at the corporate level. So within all of that, we were, trying to develop our pitch. We talked to several companies that we were able to kind of get our foot in the door with. The major taker was that we were able to get a contract with our local municipality to do injury prevention work with their employees for, fire, police, garbage collectors, parks and rec people. But within that, we were able to incorporate a lot of the prevention and health promotion concepts, and just educational work and trying with the behavior change work with those employees while we kind of had them.
Right.
And I was able to do lunch and learns at City Hall and just really trying to educate people as much as possible.
Yeah.
Hoping that we can make some changes.
So you achieved what the purpose of the course is, the CERT course. Not that it's the singular purpose, but you definitely achieved. So now tell us about your transition out of that, but it's more of a build. I feel, and where you are now, and kind of why you made that decision.
Yes. So in October, I made the leap of faith and started my own practice. Um, Things were sort of, like you said, pandemic brain and mom brain and professional brain kind of all came together and said, hey, wait a minute. There are some changes just for my own lifestyle that can be made. As a mom of 2 young girls, that's just tricky, being a working mom. So
during a pandemic.
It was a very trying time for us, as it was for everyone.
Yes.
So kind of last year, I started to have a couple people here and there who I knew on the side, like friends, asking me more about me possibly working with them. Moms, usually, they were moms. And, basically the whole premise of, listen, I need to get my body back. Like, I've been at this mom thing for several years now, and things have been going crazy. The world's been going crazy. And I need someone who knows what they're doing, who can speak my language, understands what mom life is like, and help me kind of get it all back together, knowing that every single week something is going to fall apart in my plan. And how do I work around that so that I can still exercise, eat better, just all of those things, get a little more sleep, really looking at the 5 elements here.
Right.
So I started working with them, and then I started to get more and more clients. And so decided then to finally kind of do my own thing. So I certainly do. I have a mobile practice, so I go to people's homes. It saves me the brick and mortar, and I'm loving it. I love the flexibility. I really love working with people in their home because I can really see them in their natural environment versus them telling me, well, I have this and I have this and I do this. It's like, okay, well, show me how you sit on the couch, just all of this stuff. So because I do have a good mix of more like lifestyle PT, prevention, maintenance, even kind of keep me going because, that, and then more like traditional rehab people. I've also found in all of this that the two are so intertwined. Like anytime I tried to make it like, okay, these are rehab people, it doesn't work because inevitably, you're going to do all this prevention and lifestyle work with your clients, regardless of who they are and where they are. And then the people who really want that to be their main focus also tend to have all these musculoskeletal issues, especially if we're talking about moms, which is the group that I, at this point in my life, really feel the most passionate about and really feel like I can dial in to help my population, So the two are so intertwined. It's kind of like, okay, so is this rehab or is this lifestyle PT kind of prevention stuff? So, certainly when there's a specific issue that we need to have a doctor's referral and all that, we're doing that. But then there are so many of my clients who it's just pretty fluid, what we're doing, which has allowed me so much flexibility, which is fabulous. I can and have met them at the grocery store to walk up and down the aisles, to say no, flip it over, all of those kinds of concepts, which, highly educated individuals and people need tutoring and one-on-one work on how to make changes that are going to benefit their health.
Oh, I like that, Kim, that you said tutoring, because we talk about health literacy and people just aren't health literate, but we need to tutor them, don't we? It's not as if they can't learn to read the label at the grocery store. It's that they just need help learning how to read the label at the grocery store. Wow, that's fantastic. I've told you this before. I'm really thrilled that you're so happy with where you are right now. But let me kind of bring some stuff together for membership that may be in different spots. It sounds to me that what you learned in the courses and what you applied in a population level, now you're doing it at the individual level and it works just as well, if not better than traditional care.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's integral. Like, I can't ever imagine going back and practicing the way that I did before I knew about all of this stuff and was able to incorporate it, whether I'm looking at a population or an individual.
Yes.
You know, and like we had talked, Perry, about when you're working with a big group of people, you're still kind of doing your assessment, coming up with your plan of care based on the problems that you're seeing, and that's what you're presenting to the client, you know, the corporate client, to kind of carry out in a big group level. So, you know, as a PT, if you think of it that way, no matter who you're working with, whether it's a prevention issue with one person or a group of people, or, you know, your traditional rehab person, it doesn't matter. That's kind of how this is set up the whole way through. It's just kind of changing language, changing focus a little bit here or there, depending on who you're working with.
That's so true. And what I often, and you can probably speak to this, is what I often say is we all live in populations. Like, I live in several populations. One of my populations is being a mother. Mm-hmm. So even though, like, I think you're really doing population health management, you're doing a specific subgroup of a population, which happens to be mothers. Mm-hmm. Not only do you understand it in the health and well-being area, you understand it by your experience. And yes. So, like, to me, people can choose to do population health in a clinical setting.
Oh, yeah.
If you identify the trend of the population, and then if you are a part of that population, like if you really sit down and think about what the populations are that mm-hmm. you are a part of, then you can really, really use what you know as a prevention health promotion specialist, because you share the same language, mm-hmm. and then you can make it achievable, I guess, for them, you know?
Yes.
Which
Absolutely.
Is probably why those women were calling you, why you hadn't made the transition yet, because mm-hmm. you had the language to explain to them what they needed.
Yeah. And I mean, anytime, I've been fortunate enough to be able to be a guest speaker for a mom's group in the area a few times. And I went to an event that they had a couple of weeks ago. And I mean, it's like you could talk for days about it, because part of it is just shared experience, and part of it is your knowledge and expertise to help them. And, you know, either way, like it's helpful for me. Like, I really enjoy it. It's a lot of fun.
Right.
And you can just see that you are able to help them because you can speak their language. And I would definitely emphasize strongly to current membership and potential membership, because I've taken a few calls from former students of mine at Georgia State and other colleagues who are kind of learning about APHPT and what we're about and what we do. You know, well, I'm in this setting or I'm in that setting, and how in the world can I possibly implement this? And guaranteed, if you reach out to the current membership, there is going to be someone, you know, it's a very responsive group. And that's something that I have truly, truly valued with this group of people, is that everyone is so supportive, so responsive, so willing to help. It really is a collaborative effort. And, you know, if you reach out and just post on Workplace, like, hey, I'm in this setting and I'm thinking of doing the CERT course or getting to know more about APHPT, how have people in this setting done this? And that doesn't mean that you have to do it the exact same way that they have either. They will be there to support you and help you and mentor you as best they can. And then you can take it and make it your own. But I mean, populate the world, you know, people are everywhere. And whether it's people that you are part of that population or people that you are working with as a therapist,
yeah,
it can be incorporated. It's going to look different setting to setting and group to group, but it's still all part of it.
Yes, health is in every population.
In every population, exactly.
And so I wonder, I wrote this down while you were talking, because I think I knew you dance, but I didn't know you dance. Mm-hmm. So my daughter just finished her first musical in high school, and I was appalled. I was appalled by the lack of health that was occurring. So I wonder if your girls dance or do the performing arts like you do, if you'll be able to relay health a little bit better than I am. Like that, I'm not kidding you. They had Chick-fil-A catered one night.
Mm-hmm.
And they're staying up till like 11 p.m. on a school night because they're running the show and they're getting this junk catered. And it was like the third night of catered crap food. So I brought her a tofu bowl. And she was like, Mom, it was so good, but I was so embarrassed to eat it. But I saw the lack of health in that situation, and I wonder how you're going to handle that as a mother if your
It's going to be tricky. Like my daughter does, my oldest, she does dance. But so kind of two thoughts kind of spur off of that, but one to more directly answer it. So I make her lunch. I send her to school with lunch every day, and she's fine with it. Like she thinks nothing of it, but they have a couple of like early release days this year. They haven't done that in the past. They do like late start, but the kids can still go and they're doing academic activities or whatever. So they decided to turn them into early release days, and they release right after lunch. So Lexa, my oldest Alexa, had asked me, Mommy, can I get, because lunch is free at school this year, which also makes it harder because it's not like, oh, you don't have money. Like she can just go. So she's like, can I get lunch at school on the early release days? So I told her yes. So the first day wasn't like the most horrific, offensive food in the world, but the second one that she had, Harry, I was like, okay, we need to have a conversation. Because then her behavior too that night, she was a mess, an absolute mess. So then we have to have the conversation about healthy choices. Because obviously I can't write a note to the teacher like, she's not allowed to eat this. Like she's going to be in this situation where she has to make these good decisions herself. So, you know, you can have one treat, honey. Like you can't have ice cream and chocolate milk and whatever the other piece of candy, which my husband is like, why do they have candy in the school? Like, you go talk to them. So,
and that's another population, another environment that needs help, right?
Yes.
It's just everywhere. Is it not everywhere?
It is everywhere. Yes. And in college, I actually did like an independent project in one of my psychology courses, because I was a double major. And I went into dance studios, knowing how prevalent eating disorders are in the dance and performing arts population. Yeah. And did like educational programming with the dance studios, with the students there, about healthy eating to fuel your body the right way, you know, and kind of self-image, and looking at pictures of dancers, and some that are rail thin and others that, you know, they look muscular, they look strong, they look powerful, and being able to dance like that, you have to fuel your body the right way. Yes. Because I feel like it's either they don't think about it and they're making unhealthy choices, or they're doing the opposite and getting into kind of disordered eating habits. Yes. So that is definitely a tricky population for healthy lifestyle choices.
Well, I won't bore the membership with my idea, but after the musical high school theater experience, I'm glad you reminded me of your experience in the performing arts. Because when things bother me, I want to do a solution. So I may have to embed myself into high school performing arts to change the health there.
I think you should do it. Your daughter's going to love you for it.
Oh my God, that is so funny. Okay, so to wrap up, considering your journey so far to date, what advice do you have for membership? And it doesn't have to be anything profound. It can sometimes the simplest of things, but what have you learned thus far in the world of prevention, health promotion, and what could you kind of convey to them?
If you're already a member of APHPT, you get it. You know that this is really integral to our work that we do with our patients every day, regardless of population, like I said. And even walking that fine line of being the annoying friend with the populations that you are a part of, whether it's your family, your group of friends, you know, kind of whatever your life has you in. You know, just starting the conversations with people, because sometimes if you open that door, oh my gosh, they blow it open and dive in to talk to you about it. And then sometimes you just kind of get looks like, okay, she's the annoying one with all the dietary restrictions. Like, okay, great. I'm that person, but fine. I'm still promoting it,
Right.
that I feel better when I eat this way or when I do this. So I'm just trying to be an example. And of course, I'm a work in progress also, like we all are. We all have elements that we are struggling with. Some we're like nailing, and then some that we are really struggling to try to get a hold of in our own lives. So I'm going off on a big tangent, but I feel like if you are, a member, but you haven't gone through any of the CERT courses yet, because they've expanded since I went through the course initially. I know that things have kind of broken off and there's like a series and everything, but I would really strongly advise it, because I've found it to be invaluable to my interaction with my clients and just kind of in my career trajectory, really. Yeah. So, and a lot of us are very open to, I know Brad and I went up to New Jersey, and I know some other people in membership have, to kind of just like shadow Mike and kind of see what a day in the life of is like with proactivity, to kind of see how they do it. And not that everybody's gonna be able to incorporate what they do into their own practice, but maybe taking away certain elements of it just to kind of see it. And certainly around the country, there are people doing this all over in various settings, and would certainly be open if someone wanted to kind of shadow or meet or, whatever, to see how they're doing it and ask more, to see how they could, help them with their own practice.
Yeah, what I hear from that is something that I think is the antithesis of what we feel in physical therapy. I always have to separate the occupational therapists because I think they do a better job of this. But what I hear in that is, in the world of prevention and health promotion, because health is everywhere and everybody needs health, there's no competition. So go ask somebody how they're doing it and replicate that in your own community. It's the highest form of flattery, in my opinion. And then what we do as a collective is move the health of everybody, you know?
Oh, yes. This is too big for any of us to tackle by ourselves. Even if we're in a big practice or a big company or something, there are too many people out there who need us doing this all together and talking about it too. Not, talking about it in every group that we kind of are in some way, talking about it just to bring awareness to the fact that it's even a possibility.
I agree. Well, that was great. Thank you, Kim, for our March prevention and health promotion convo. So if someone wants to get in touch with you, they can just use your APHPT email. Would that be the best?
Yep. Okay. Kimberly.Richards@APHPT.org. I'm on Workplace, so you could shoot me a message on there.
Okay.
I may not respond as quickly as I would to email, but absolutely.
Perfect.
Those are 2 ways to get me.
Perfect. All right, Kim. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Perry.